Hi everybody, it's Emily from D.I.Y. Today we're going to be taking this cutting board and we're going to be turning it into this! If you're interested in making a checkerboard or chess cutting board, stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss this one. Today I have a very similar video to the one I did around Halloween. I did a Ouija board video, so in case you guys haven't seen that yet, you might want to watch that one because I referenced that one quite a bit in this video. So yeah, so I made this cool cutting board. Again, turned out very light, just like, and you're gonna watch the whole video and see this whole thing, but just like the Ouija board one, I mean, with the exception of this area got very burned for some weird reason. If the whole thing got that burned, that would have been really cool, but I think it's really difficult to actually burn the type of wood that I'm using, which is I'm using like a bamboo kind of wood. I don't know if it's like a bamboo mixed with other wood or something like that, but anyways, I think it's really difficult to burn bamboo cutting boards or wood in general. So if you can find like a different type of wood that's easily burned, that you can get kind of more of a contrast than I did when you wash things away, then all the power to you. I really hope that somebody has some sort of success with this particular DIY. I really like it and I think it's a lot of fun. So anyways, I did do a very similar video. If you guys haven't seen that particular video, then I recommend watching that first. You don't have to necessarily, but I do reference it quite a bit in it, so you may not know what I'm talking about unless you've watched that video. So yeah, so I'm gonna link that above in case you guys are interested in that sort of thing. This project was really fun, pretty straightforward. There was some math involved. I'm not the best mathematician in the world. I said something about how if you're good at math then you'd be good at doing this, but I think I did okay with it. And again, I'm not the best at math. I don't normally measure things out very well. I like to eye things a lot of the time, but I feel like it looks like a checkerboard. It may have some spots that don't look amazing or doesn't look perfect or something like that, but I think it looked pretty good for what I did in this video. If you really like this kind of content, please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you think somebody else is gonna like it, please share this stuff. I feel like they're really cool DIYs that you can pair with other things to make it look even cooler and like more fun and more useful. Yeah, I think that they're pretty fast to make. They take maybe a day or more to make them, but they're pretty quick to make. I feel like they're really impressive if you make this sort of thing. It sort of just takes like a bland cutting board and just makes it a little bit more fun. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yammering and I'm just basically going to introduce how I made this particular DIY. On to the DIY. For this project, you may or you will need one cutting board. And it doesn't have to be this particular cutting board. This is just the one that I picked up on Amazon. I will try to link the links for this down below if it's still available. Some form of scorch marker. There's a few different types, so I'm going to try to play around with these guys. So you'll need that. Either this one, which is the big thumb. This is Scorch Marker Pro, so I guess there's different types. You may also need some square dies for this, or square stickers, or checkerboard stencil of some kind. You will definitely need some form of heat gun. So this is what I'm using here. Again, we'll try to link this down below, especially. There might be a few variations in here. I'm going to make some suggestions, as I always do, to do a few different methods. Hopefully this will help you gather some stuff though. And to finish it off, you might need some cutting board wax. That will hopefully make things much better, keep things in. This is 100% natural and specific to cutting board projects. So much like the Ouija board one, we're not going to use the side with the divots for this particular cutting board. I think what happened with the Ouija board one, if you guys have at all watched that one, I think what happened was a lot of this bamboo material, I think this is as dark as it goes, these knots. I'm going to be predicting that this is also going to be kind of a lighter, darker wood that's going to be showing through when I heat things up. So I'm just letting you know that it probably won't be as dark as we plan. Even though I said that I wasn't really into it in the Ouija board video, I kind of like grew to like the look of the lighter darkness, I guess, of the other one. I guess I was shocked because it was quite dark before, and then I washed it and it was a lot lighter. And I do like having contrast so you can see things a lot better, but you can still see stuff that was going on. So I'm going to be using some sort of square die cut here for this particular one. So I got die cuts that don't have like a sort of sewn edge on it, and I'm going to measure and see which ones are going to be the best for this one. I also made another Society 6 cutting board, and so you basically use this side. This is the side you use for food and for cutting and that sort of thing. If something is wrapped up, I think, or if this is washed a lot, then I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal if food touches this side. It says on Society 6 that food shouldn't be touching this side. This is more of a decorative thing, I guess. You shouldn't be cutting food for sure on this. Definitely, if you're going to cut food, do it on the other side. So you might want to warn that to whoever you're gifting this to, but I'm going to use this as a reference. So as you notice, and you can make this the exact same size or maybe a little bit bigger because this is a larger block of wood, right? I'm going to measure and see how big these squares actually are because they were just perfect for this particular one, but they may do well to make things just slightly bigger for something like this. We'll see. So there's 8 across and 8 squares this way to make a perfect square checker or chessboard, right? So that'll be 64 squares altogether. Obviously, some are going to be left out of the mix. So 64 divided by 2 would be 32. So you probably have to cut out, if you're going to be stenciling and stuff, probably have to cut out every other square basically, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to take out these guys here, try to measure this first of all. So obviously you'd have to be fairly good at math if you're doing something similar to this. Or again, you can just buy this guy and that's perfectly fine too. So each square, centimeters, is about a little over an inch. So I'm probably gonna make it, if I do 1.5 inches, that might be too big. Maybe I'll just do 1.25 inches of an inch. So let's see if I have something that's about that size here in this package of dies. Because these are pretty good, I think, this die set here. I'll see if I can link this down below too. So 1.25 inches. Maybe the third one in. Let's try the third one in and break that apart. So I'm just gonna put that aside for now. Oh, that's about the same size as this. Maybe a little bit smaller, actually. So let's see if I can get a bit bigger. Is that gonna be way too big? I don't know. It may not be too big. Let's see here. It's a little bit bigger. So maybe that'll be good. A good size. So I think this is going to be way too big. Yeah, this is gonna be way too big. So I'm gonna try this size out. So that's like the 4th one in on this set for this sort of thing. So get that, and I'm gonna try to get the same sticker paper that I got for my sticker tattoo video that I just did not too long ago, and see if I can make like a template with that. So yeah, this is just like an 8.5 by 11 sheet matte sticker paper, and I think I'm gonna start with the top corner here, create kind of like a bit of a border. Yeah, I'm gonna sort of do something here, and I'm gonna go every other one. So I basically cut out a ton of sticker squares, and you can use this in a few different ways, obviously, as I have shown here. So if you can get things straight, which is not obviously easy because, you know, things get a little wonky like this, but if you can get things sort of straight, you can basically make a stencil out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of sticker paper if you wanted to do that route. You can also just place things as the stickers on here and have like something in between, go like that, you know what I mean? Like every other one you stick something down. There's that method as well. I find this one obviously is a little bit easier if, again, you can get everything straight. So I might not do something with the top here because I'm gonna have to like move things over somehow or put some stickers down or something like that. And another thing you could actually do is you take like a pencil and sort of just stencil this out. Instead of like sticking this whole thing down and potentially ripping it when you have to move things over, you could always do the pencil route, and I might do that. So basically, I'm just measuring this. So these little squares are actually 1.25 inch, which I think is a perfect size for something like this. So all of the squares, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are on this side, the 11-inch side. So basically you can get everything in there. This cannot go to 8 on this side. So, and again, these ones went a little bit wonky anyways. These ones are a little bit straighter here. So I'd probably trust this a little bit more, but you'd have to sort of figure out where, because you can't really center it, you're gonna have to figure out somehow where these squares are gonna go as much as you can. And I mean, sometimes things can't be fully perfect. You can try to make it as close to it as you possibly can, because nothing is perfect in general. I think it's fairly close, this stencil, so what I would do is I'd probably take a pencil, and you can stick it straight down, whatever you want to do, but this is going to be just a little easier for me, I think, to map it out, because again, these ones are a little bit wonky and I just want to move things. So I'm just going to pencil it out and then just show you guys what I do with that afterward. Again, you can stick things down if you want to. I just used a little bit of painter's tape, didn't bother making this into a sticker like I was intending to originally. And again, you can also, you don't have to do it this way, you can always do it with the squares, like these little stickers. So I ended up, I forgot to mention, I think, that I basically can use painter's tape or some sort of low-tack tape. I also used washi tape in order to hold down the square dies while I was sort of putting it through as much as I can. Sometimes they shift a little bit, and that's why this didn't really turn out too perfectly, but again, it's not that big of a deal. So I try to make these kind of light-ish. You know, obviously they're not perfect either, but they probably won't be either when I burn them. So yeah, so I basically have to move up. I'm just going to try to go inside this way here to make the stencil kind of line up a bit with everything else. Okay, if you need to fix anything, you can go in and fix something there. But yeah, I'm just going to basically move it up so that there's like 8 across, technically 4 of the openings, right? So basically, I don't know if you guys can see this very well on this camera, but it basically sort of did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so 64 altogether. I mean, the nice thing about the pencil is you can sort of fix up any mistakes if you need to before you start going over it with the marker. But yeah, that's what basically I did with this sort of stencil. And again, you can get a really professional stencil made. You can either make it up with, if you've got like a Cricut or a Silhouette or some sort of print and cut system. You can try to do it by hand as well if you got a really steady hand. I personally don't, so that's why I kind of went with the die cut route. You can also do, as I said, stickers. You can do, there's square punches that you can get that are of a specific size. I like the nesting dies because then you can sort of pick and choose the different sizes that you might need for your project, and also they're quite flat, so they're really easy to store a lot of the time. So you don't have to go this route, but yeah, you can get professional dies made on Etsy as well. If you don't say wanna bother making it yourself or something, that's another alternative, right? So basically the next step is to, as I said, maybe fix up whatever errors you sort of see here, and then just go over it with your specific marker. So I might just look over this real quick and then see if I need to take away any mistakes that I made. So I sort of fixed up what I basically could, what I could see that kind of needed fixing a little bit, and I don't know, it looks like it's pretty okay. It's not too bad. I mean, again, it might not be perfect because of scorch markers and stuff. So last time I used, for the Ouija board one, I used this Big Thumb brand, and it worked okay. I just want to try a different brand. I'm hoping this one works out for me, fingers crossed, but I'm going to try the Scorch Marker Pro out, and then I'm going to just grab a sheet of paper just to prime this marker like I did with the Ouija board one. Just random cardstock, and I'm just gonna open this guy up. So I think it has 2 different ends here as far as I can see. I think one end's a little bit finer than the other. Okay, so that's a bullet tip. Oh, I see. So this is like a finer tip here. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna use the bullet tip, I think, and prime this. Oh, this is interesting. So it's not as yellowy as the other one is. So this is a brand new brand. We'll try this out, get that all primed up. All right, so I'm gonna try doing this off camera and see what happens. So believe it or not, I did do pretty much everything here except for this one square. It actually absorbs the liquid, I guess, from the pen pretty easily. Unlike the last one was sort of sitting on top quite a bit. So this should be really interesting, I think, when we're trying to heat things up with the heating tool. But I'm just going to basically try to do the last square here. It's hard to see, but it is actually working here. I'm just sort of outlining. So I like to sort of go in the middle sometimes and just do a little bit of this. And I haven't opened up the other marker at all. I'm trying to see if I'm doing it right. It's really hard to do on camera here. It's easier to do off camera and be more accurate. And yeah, I didn't really have to go in there with a tissue or something like I did last time. It really absorbs this actual chemical. So that's quite interesting. So I'm going to try to get the heat gun out and see if this will work. Okay, so this is the heat tool that I used last time, and you can use whatever you want. It doesn't have to be this particular one, but this is what I have on hand. Alright, let's try this out, see if this works. It doesn't seem to be burning as much as the last time. That's really fascinating. Oh, here we go. Something looks like it's happening here. incredibly light in comparison to last time and how that worked. Oh, here we go. If you kind of put it on there for a while, it sort of burns quite a bit. This is fascinating because it's not burning as fast or as easily at all. So what I think I'm going to end up doing is actually pull this down first. I'm going to try to get the other marker out and see what happens there. This looks like it did almost nothing except for this one. Okay, so I went over everything with this original marker that I used for the Ouija board, which is the Big Thumb brand pyrography marker, and it looks like it sort of sits on top a lot more. It doesn't absorb into the wood as much, so let's just hope and pray that this is going to work out. I didn't dab anything away. This is still wet, so I'm hoping that nothing's going to catch fire here. Let's just let's hope nothing bad happens. Try the top because this is a little bit more dried up here. Yeah, see that burns much better. It's not as hot either, I found. This is turning out quite dark, which, again, it will probably lighten up quite a bit when I wash it, but I'm going to try to make it as dark as possible and see what happens. I'm not as concerned about things being legible this time around, which is nice. I just want a really cool pattern. So I didn't wash off the other pyrography marker either when I was doing this. Maybe the combination will burn it even more, I'm not sure. Also probably keeping it on here a lot longer and making it much darker, maybe that will do something as well. Have to check it out in the end and see what happens. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. So I just sort of went over it a little bit again, just because there were some sort of sketchy spots, but I just made it a lot darker. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit more even now. Yeah, as you can see, it's not perfect. It's probably just going to look like it's etched in the wood, but it's enough to play a game basically, right? So if you want, again, you can do like a border. I'll do that and then I'll show you guys what I did in the end. Okay, so I did a bit of a border here just to make it look a little bit nicer and a little bit more like a checkerboard pattern. Now I'm going to wash it and hope that it doesn't get too much lighter. Probably will though, so I'm not going to get my hopes up too much about it. So as you can see, again, it kind of got quite a bit lighter. This is probably the darkest spot, which is probably the part that, turn it around, this is probably the part that actually burned the most when I was doing things the first time around. So yeah, you can see it's very, very burned on this side. A lot lighter down here maybe, but you can still see it. It still shows up. It still looks kind of like an etching. Also, it's a little bit damp because I just washed it, so it might lighten a little bit as it dries. So I'm just going to let it dry a little bit before putting on the cutting board wax. Okay, so I legitimately think it's better to do this with a cloth, not a paper towel like I'm doing, but again, I don't really have a cloth, so I think you're supposed to use a cloth because it warms things up a lot easier, because it's almost like a really cold, solid block of wax. So I'm going to try to get as much as I can on here. It's supposed to condition the wood quite nicely too. But I honestly think that if you get a real wood cutting board, this probably won't be so hard to burn and get a darker color. I think because this is like a bamboo wood, or it might be even a mixture of woods, but because this is a bamboo wood, I think it's a little bit harder to kind of burn it. So if you can get your hands on some wood that's a lot easier to burn and sort of have more of a contrast, then by all means try to go for that and experiment a little bit more. But I ended up using, because this was a 2-pack, and that's why I ended up doing the Ouija board along with it. But if you can find some nicer cutting boards, I think that's honestly the main issue that I had altogether. It smells very lemony, this stuff. It's quite nice and refreshing, the smell. So I didn't bother using sandpaper at all on it, or sanding block. You can definitely use that if you want to make it a little more even, like say this is too burned for you. I think it just gives it a little bit more character, but you can definitely do whatever you like. You do you. So if you want, you can do a couple of layers of this wax, and it does feel a lot smoother actually. Doing a couple might be a good idea because you never know. You might miss a few spots the first time around. Anyways guys, that's pretty much that project, and I'm just going to show you my Society 6 cutting board that I made, and I'm going to show you how to wrap that up and pair it with certain things as well. It's just going to make the gift a lot more over the top
shop and a lot more fun to receive. So it doesn't look like you're just giving something that's just for design purposes. You're basically giving something that's going to be really, really fun to use in the end, right? And much like the other video of the Ouija board, we have a Society 6 cutting board. So I think this is really, really fun, and it's a great alternative to people who you're enjoying the DIY stuff maybe, but you don't want to full on make the project. So I basically did this, and so you can pair this stuff with the actual DIY too if you decide to go the DIY route. But I basically bought on Amazon some chocolate molds for chess pieces, and you can make the chocolate yourself if you want to. You can even, I don't know if you can make, this is something that would be an experiment probably, but maybe you can make even cheese versions or something of this, like melt some cheese or something in there, make some actual full-on cheese pieces, like chess pieces, which I think would be really funny. Cheese chess. Something funny like that. I also ordered, for people who are into checkers more than chess, I think this was on Etsy that I actually bought this from, so it's like Casey created, and I'm going to try to link their store down below. They're really, really lovely, really helpful, gave a really cute little business card. Also gave me like a freebie of things, so they gave me a small little guy as a bonus in case I wanted to make really small checker pieces. So this is kind of cool, so you could basically make little cheese slice pieces, or you can even make little tiny cookies or crackers or things like that. If you wanted to, you can even gift this with, you know, those mini Ritz sandwiches or something, or mini Ritz. You could basically make something with like different forms of cheese on top of them, and you can sort of play with that. You can even play with little Hershey's Kisses versus Hershey's Hugs, or, you know, like there's all sorts of different cute food things that are maybe prepackaged that you could sort of gift with this. But I figured it'd be cute to sort of gift something like this with maybe this, to give people options for checkers or chess, playing that sort of thing with their food. So I'm gonna bring this out again. So it's basically a shrink wrap bag, and they do smell a little bit off, guys, which is kind of annoying. So that's why I'm suggesting don't maybe gift it with open food, just prepackaged food might be the better move. That's the more shrink wrap bags. So you can basically make this with a basket, which is really cool if you like making baskets for people. Find the opening of the bag. Very staticky. Starting to get wintry around here. I mean, it's already static in the summer too, but anyways, just sort of put that in there. If you want to, you can even put instructions in these little gift bags. And you can wrap this with any kind of ribbon you want. So what I'm gonna do is gonna get some big gingham ribbon just for fun. So I got some really cute gingham ribbon. You can get whatever colors you want. You don't even have to do this. I just thought gingham looks nice with checkerboard, kind of sort of continues that sort of pattern on. And plus it looks really cute with this little pink cookie cutter that I just gave them, whoever I'm gifting to. And if you guys have better ways of wrapping things up or making ribbon, then go for it. I'm not the biggest ribbon person. I know there's like really cool ways of making ribbon. And you can do what I did in the last video. You can do curling ribbon, and you can even put this kind of ribbon on top or something. There's lots of different ways of making this stuff. So obviously this ribbon is way too long. So what you do here is fold this in half, and then I like to sort of go on a diagonal from where the fold is to make like a point here. I should probably use this with fabric scissors, but anyways, you kind of get this idea. That classic ribbon look, right? This isn't right in the middle, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can use this ribbon for something else if you want to. See if this heat embossing tool works better. So this is the package here. This is the embossing heat tool. I'm going to try to link it down below if it's available. And so I'm going to try to use this guy and see if this will work. Also, just sort of shrinking this plastic around, because the heat gun was great last time and it worked out really well, but it also seemed really hot. I think this gets quite hot too, but I just want to see how well it does for something like this. Some ripples out. Oh, sometimes you can burn holes right in the plastic, so just be careful with this. Just kind of keep it moving. I'm just trying to get ripples and wrinkles out, but constantly moving here. But anyways, there you go. And then sort of just adjust that bow. You can always shrink it down a bit more, and just, you can keep this as long or as loose as you want. You can cut it down if you want to, but I think that looks pretty good. I think it looks really cute. It's a great present to give to somebody, especially someone who maybe likes checkers, chess, or, you know, maybe is really getting into that sort of thing because of the Queen Gambit. If there's like a wire ribbon, I think that would be really nice because then it's a little easier to play with and adjust and stuff like that, but this one's not a wire one, so it just keeps flipping over, and I think there's better ways of making ribbon for sure than I just did, but you kind of get the idea. So anyways, that's one way that you could wrap this stuff. If you want to, if you don't want it showing, you can even do this method and then wrap some sort of wrapping paper around it to make it more hidden. There's lots of things you can do, but this is just one really fun method.
So yeah, that's how I made it. Obviously lightened up as you saw in the video. Yeah, but I really think it has to do with the wood more than anything. Could be wrong. Obviously, the one marker seemed to work better than the other. The other one, I don't know what was going on with that, but it was interesting. I'll give it that. As I said, I made this for you guys. I made this for the people who like the DIYs that I'm doing, that think that they're interesting and stuff like that, but maybe they just don't have the energy to make it, or maybe they just don't want to make it, whatever. But maybe they think that the concept's really cool. So I made you guys something similar in Society 6 if you guys want to check that out. If you're not going to put instructions in there, because I forgot to do that, but like if you're not going to put instructions in there, be sure to at least tell them that this side is the side to cut and prep food on and mostly use food on. At Society 6, you might notice this if you buy it. They will state that this is more decorative and it's not really meant for the food stuff on it. I mean, I think it might be okay if there's like wrap food on it. Like I really like the idea of little Hershey's Kisses and Hershey's Hugs or something and pairing that with this sort of thing. You may not want to actually do that if you're going to be using the shrink wrap bags because you might end up melting the chocolate in here, right? So maybe pair it by separating it and giving them like a separate gift or something like that instead of doing that. But like I like pairing it with stuff like this that's not food-based stuff, that's not going to melt or anything like that. Also, let people know, probably should wash this thing when you first get it, just in case, especially if you get the DIY version, because even if you wash it, I don't know, I'm always afraid that there's going to be like some chemicals or something like that on it. I'm just like a safety nut sometimes when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, so you can basically like dress it up however you want. You don't have to do the ribbon thing that I did here, but I think that this looks really, really cute and kind of professional and really fun to give somebody at any time of year. Yeah, anyways, I hope you guys really like this video. Everybody take care and have a good one, okay? Enjoy the holidays if you're watching this during the holidays, because I'm doing this around the holidays. But yeah, if you're not watching this around the holidays, take care. Have a good one. Enjoy whatever celebrations you're having, okay? Bye!